Hello friends and family, welcome back to Come Sit at My Table. My name's Tom, my wife Melissa is behind the camera today. And today we are making a pumpkin sheet cake with cinnamon cream cheese frosting. Now, I've had this recipe forever. In fact, I've had it so long I don't remember where I got it. But every time I make it, it's always a huge hit with people who eat it. Because this makes a sheet cake, the cake is not very thick, but it's a large cake. So it serves quite a few people. That makes it perfect to take to a potluck, a church dinner, or just to have for a get-together with friends at your house. So let's get started by talking about what we need to make pumpkin sheet cake. First, you're going to need 2 sticks of melted butter. You're also going to need 1 cup of whole milk. Don't use that skim stuff. It just doesn't have any flavor. You also need 1/2 cup of pumpkin. Now make sure that you get the 100% pure pumpkin. Don't use pumpkin pie mix or pumpkin pie filling. It's not the same as pure pumpkin. So make sure you get 100% pure pumpkin.
That's a pretty heaping measurement you got.
You're right. I heap it up because I want that pumpkin flavor in it. So it is 1/2 cup, but I do kind of heap it up. You also need 2 cups of regular sugar, just granulated sugar. You need 2 large eggs. Now, I know there are 3 yolks in here, but that's because one of my eggs had a double yolk. So it's really 2 large eggs. In fact, I might have even used the extra large eggs. I think I picked up extra large eggs at the store because they were out of large eggs. So, you know, it really doesn't matter. You can use large, extra large, jumbo. It doesn't matter. You just need 2 eggs. I would use at least the large size. We also need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I get this vanilla at our local Mennonite grocery store, and it is really good vanilla. You need 2 cups of all-purpose flour. You need 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. And you can find this at any grocery store. It's very common. And you need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Really, the order you mix it in, I guess, doesn't matter much, but I like to mix the liquid ingredients first. So I will put in, I'll grab my spatula, put in the butter. And if you've watched any of our videos, you know I like to scrape the bowls and the measuring cups because I don't want to miss anything. I want it all in there. So there goes our 2 sticks of butter, our 1 cup of whole milk. Get the whole thing in. Our heaping 1/2 cup of pumpkin. Right into the mixing bowl. And you know, you wouldn't have to have an electric mixer for this. You could do this with a hand mixer, and in goes our 2 cups of sugar. You could just use a hand mixer, or you could even do this with just a whisk. It comes together very easily, so you wouldn't need necessarily a stand mixer to do this, but it makes short work of it, so I like to do it. Now, I'm just going to mix this together. Hope it doesn't slosh out. Just going to mix those together. On low speed, just to combine them. Then I'm going to add my eggs and our vanilla. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Now we're just going to let that mix for a second to get those eggs broken up and incorporated. Now, before I add my 4 dry ingredients, I'm going to put them all together. Just because I feel like they mix in better if they're all together. So I'll put 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, and I did not dip that into pumpkin pie spice because it had just been in the baking soda. I didn't want to get that in with my other spices. And now half a teaspoon of salt. And I'll just stir those together just so they're kind of combined. That way they mix in a little more evenly. And it's not important that they be fully combined, but just kind of mix them in together. And then we'll put about half of this in to start with. Problem with this is it coming out of there. Actually, I think I'm going to take my spatula and just kind of stir that up a little bit to try to keep it from becoming a cloud all over our kitchen. You know, if you don't want to use a mixer, just do it by hand. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of this in and kind of stir it in too. Then we'll mix it up. Hopefully we won't have a cloud hit us in the face. Okay. Scrape that off good.
You talk about the cloud in the face as if that has happened to you before.
Well, maybe a time or two.
Everybody has to learn, right?
That's right. Actually, it's happened to me more times than I want to admit. Now, we're just going to let that mix until everything is combined really well. Turn it up just a little bit to get it moving. It doesn't take long, you just want to get it all mixed in. Now, I probably don't need to do this, but I'm going to. I like to scrape off my beater just to make sure that there's nothing on there that hasn't gotten mixed in. Scrape that side, come around here and scrape this side off. And even though this is a really nice beater and it scrapes the edge of the bowl as it mixes, I don't know. I guess I'm old-fashioned. I just feel like I have to scrape the bowl. So, here we go. Scrape it all down in there. Okay. Let's let it go around another time or two, just to make sure. Okay. Now, we want to get every single drop of that into the bowl, or as much of it as we can, because we are fixing it in a sheet pan. Some people call them jelly roll pans, but actually, I think a sheet pan is bigger than a jelly roll pan. I'm not 100% sure, but I think. But we'll show you here in a minute. So all of it needs to come off there so that we can get it all in the pan to bake. You know, a lot of people think about pumpkin that it's just for Thanksgiving. Well, that's not really true. You can have pumpkin year round. And we're actually making this for a get-together we're having at our house tonight. we are having, I don't know, Melissa, is it Friendsgiving or Friendsmas, or what are we having?
Either one works.
I don't know. Anyway, we're having friends in tonight, and I'm supposed to do a dessert along with other things. Now, this is the pan I'm using. You can see it's got about a 1-inch rim around it, not very thick. And, gosh, I don't know, Melissa, what size do you think that is? About a...
16, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I was going to say about a 14 by 17. I don't know. I'll measure it and let you know after a while.
It's well loved. We've used this a bunch.
Yeah, I have 4 of these actually, and they are well used. We use them a lot. Okay, and I have sprayed it very well with Pam because you don't want this to stick. So, let's scrape it in. You will have to spread it out. It's not a runny batter that will just run all over the cake pan and fill it in. You'll have to spread it some. I will tell you that the very first time I made this, I took it to a school potluck. And I believe it was, I don't know, Melissa, do you remember, was it for a Thanksgiving dinner?
I do believe it was for Thanksgiving.
I'm not sure.
It's possible it was for Christmas.
It may have been Christmas. But anyway, I took this and while everybody was eating, I heard people saying, "Who made that pumpkin cake? Who brought that pumpkin cake?" And finally someone said, "I think Tom and Melissa brought it." And before we left, I had 6 people who came over and said, "Could I have your recipe for that pumpkin cake?" So it's a very popular cake if you take it somewhere. People love this cake. It's very good. All right. Now, I think I've gotten about as much in there as I can get. Scraped and scraped and scraped. Now, we're going to put this in a preheated 350-degree oven. And because it's such a thin cake, it doesn't take long. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes. You'll just have to start watching it. It depends on how hot your oven is. Our oven is extremely hot. So I will probably start checking it at about 14, 15 minutes. It shouldn't, even in any other oven, it shouldn't take more than 20 minutes. You'll know it's done when you touch it in the middle and it springs back up. The middle will be the last area to probably get done, but because it's so thin, it bakes fast, even the center. All right, so we're going to put this in, and when it comes out, we'll come back and show you what it looks like. And then we'll talk about, once it's cooled, we have to cool it completely. Once it's cooled, we will talk about the frosting, and I'll show you what goes into it. All right, let's put it in. And I'm going to set the timer for 15 minutes. All right, we'll see you when it comes out. After me saying that our oven bakes really hot and it would not take more than 15 to 20 minutes, this cake has been in there for 23 minutes. But I think it's ready. Yeah, it is definitely done now. Yeah, the top is springing back. I can tell you another way that you can tell when it's ready. I don't know if you can see this, Melissa, but you can see right here where it's starting to pull away from the edge of the pan. Now, it's not done that all the way around, but right here on the corner. Can you see? Does that show up?
Yeah.
Right in there. You can see that that's starting to pull away right in there. And that's a real indication that it's done too. But if you touch the center, it springs right back up. So that way you know it's done. Now, we have to let this cool completely before we can put any kind of frosting on it. So I'm probably going to give it an hour, hour and a half at least, maybe a couple of hours just to make sure it's good and cool. And then we'll come back and make the cinnamon cream cheese frosting, frost it, and then Tom gets to taste a piece.
We'll Don't act like you're the only one that gets a bite.
Okay, Tom and Melissa will each have a piece. Our company will just have to eat some cake that's got a piece missing, huh? We'll be back in an hour or two when the cake's completely cooled and we'll make the frosting. Our pumpkin cake has been out of the oven for about an hour and a half and it's plenty cool. It's completely cooled off. So now we're going to make the cinnamon cream cheese frosting and frost the cake. This is what you need for the cinnamon cream cheese frosting. You need 1 8-ounce block of cream cheese, 1/2 cup, which is 1 stick of butter, 1/4 of a cup of whole milk. You need 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and then about 6.5 to 7 cups of powdered sugar. If you get the powdered sugar, blend it in, and it's a little too thick to spread, just add another tablespoon or so of milk. If you get it in and it's not quite thick enough, add another little scoop of powdered sugar. It will be fine. By the way, powdered sugar is also called confectioner's sugar. So if you haven't used that before, when you go to the store, you can find it. Sometimes it's powdered sugar, sometimes confectioner's sugar. Sometimes it'll say both on the package. All right. We're going to start by first blending our cream cheese and our butter because we want those creamed together before we start adding the other items. So we'll just turn that on and let that cream together for a few seconds. Get that blended really well. I will tell you that I set my cream cheese and my butter out on the counter when I took my cake out of the oven. So the cream cheese and butter have been sitting out for about an hour and a half. That lets them come to room temperature and they blend a little better. Well, a lot better really. And when you add the other ingredients, they don't leave big clumps. You don't want big chunks of cream cheese or butter in your frosting. You want it smooth. And by bringing it to room temperature and blending it first, it will keep you from having those chunks in it. So let's just let it blend for another few seconds, get it creamed really well. Now, when we add the milk, and yes, I'm using a dry measure for liquid. That won't hurt anything. I did have somebody the other day that made a comment and said I shouldn't do that, but I've been doing it 51 years. It'll be okay. I'm just going to add the milk a little bit at a time so it starts to blend without clumping up. You don't want it to go in and make big clumps in your cream cheese and butter. So by putting it in just a little bit at a time, it creams a little better and you don't get those lumps in it. And I'm blending on low because I sure don't want it to splash milk all over the kitchen counter. Alright, so we have all the milk in. I'll let that blend for just a second to make sure that's really smooth and creamy. I don't know if you can see down in there, but that is very creamy. It's very smooth. It's not, you can't see any lumps in that. Alright, so now we need to add our cinnamon and vanilla. We need 1 teaspoon of each. So in goes the cinnamon and the vanilla. So So in it goes. Just drizzle that in. Set the vanilla and the cinnamon out of our way. And we're going to let that blend for just a second or two, just to get that blended in really well. Just want that blended into your cream cheese and butter before you start adding your powdered sugar.
Love that cinnamon smell.
Oh man, it smells good, doesn't it? Now, this is the part I kind of dread every time. Because when you put powdered sugar in a mixer, it has a tendency to fly everywhere. So I am going to scrape my beater just to make sure we don't have any clumps of butter or cream cheese on it. We'll get that scraped off pretty good. Doesn't have to be completely cleaned off, but just get most of it off there. And then, oops, I did splash some out. Then I'm going to put my mixer guard on here just to try to help a little bit with the cream cheese frosting so it doesn't splash out everywhere. We'll hope we don't get a big cloud. And I will start that and then spoon it in on low, just a spoonful at a time. And there's no guarantee it won't make a cloud. Like Melissa said earlier in this video, I've had a cloud happen before. A time or two.
Hey, if it happens, you just kind of have to
clean it out.
Go on, clean it up and go on.
That's right. Oh my goodness, I have had so many messes in the kitchen. That's okay. That's part of the fun of cooking. Well, I don't know if it's the fun part of cooking, but it's part of cooking. Sometimes you're just going to make a mess. Let's just hope that's not the case today. And you see down in there that you can see that it blends in, looks a little thick, and then it gets creamy again. You know, something I didn't know when I first started cooking was that sugar is considered a liquid in baking. Because when it's heated to a high temperature, it turns to liquid. So, in baking, sugar is not a solid, it's a liquid. I don't think it would be considered a liquid in this because we're not heating it, but it's just a fun little fact. You know, I am not a huge fan of cinnamon. Melissa absolutely loves cinnamon.
Absolutely. Cinnamon everything.
I like it okay, I just don't love it. But this cinnamon cream cheese frosting is, oh my goodness. It is so good.
Well, I think for you, when you combine it with the pumpkin,
well, that's true.
That's a great combination for you.
That is true. Putting it on this pumpkin cake is wonderful.
Well, I like it in everything.
She loves cinnamon candles. Me, not so much. I can tolerate it, but it's certainly not my favorite candle. Okay, I'm gonna just dump this in. Now, that's pretty safe, I think. So I'm going to remove that. And then I'm going to whip this at a higher speed just to fluff it up a little bit.
You want to lock it in?
Yeah, maybe should. I don't think it's not stiff, so I think it'd be okay, but just to be safe. Now let's see if it's too stiff. I think it's plenty stiff. I don't think it needs more sugar. I think that's pretty good.
Looks like it'll be perfect.
And I had somewhere between 6.5 and 7 cups of powdered sugar. Maybe closer to 7, but it was between 6.5 and 7. And honestly, I've made this before and had to add a little milk to it because it was just so thick. I've made it other times and had to add a little extra sugar because it just wasn't thick enough. So you'll just have to play around with it. Try it. Now, I believe in getting it all off there. But if it's not all off, then somebody will have to clean this beater. It's not bad to get to lick the beater after you're finished. My wife will not be happy I said that, will you?
Hey,
You'll help me.
I've gone way back in my childhood. I licked the beaters.
You know, my dad was the cook in our family when I was growing up. My mom had been an only child, and when they got married at the age of 19, she had never cooked a meal. My dad, on the other hand, was one of 8 children with his mom and dad, and one of his jobs was to cook. So he was used to cooking, and he did a lot of the cooking in our house. But occasionally, my mom did make cakes and things like that, and she would always yell for me to come lick the beaters in the bowl when she was finished.
It's just a highlight of childhood.
It's a good memory. It's always fun to have somebody yell your name and say, come lick the beaters. You want to lick the bowl? Yeah. Why would you even have to ask a kid that? Of course I wanted to lick the beater in the bowl.
My mom had the old-fashioned one with, you know, the 2 metal beaters.
Yeah, the handheld.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess that was nice for my brother and me to both get one.
Well, honestly, that's what my mom had. I don't know that, not until I was older, probably an older teenager, she never had a stand mixer. I think really most of the stuff that she mixed up, she just did by hand. She used a spoon or a whisk or something. Now make sure you get that cream cheese icing all the way to the edge, because nobody wants to get a piece of cake on the edge that doesn't have plenty of frosting. And you know, I told you this is a thin cake. This cake's made in a sheet pan, so it's not very thick. And therefore, you don't want a big thick icing on it either. Now, Melissa and I will both tell you, we like cake, but we love frosting. So we put plenty of frosting on our cakes. But when you're doing a cake in a sheet pan, and it's not a very big cake to start with, you don't want big mounds of frosting on it. So it's not like this is piled high. This is just a nice layer of frosting on the cake. And I can't wait to cut a piece and have some. Now, when you get that thing frosted, you want it to look pretty. So I do just what my mom did and my dad. And I just take my spatula and make swirls. You just want your cake to look nice. You want it to look like you spent a little time on it. Okay. How's that?
That's beautiful.
A little frosting right there. I think I'll stick it right there. Swirl that in. Okay. Let's get a little plate. Let's get a little spatula out of this drawer right here. Now, I don't like a corner piece. I don't know why. I never have. Huh?
I don't mind because you usually get twice the icing that way. The worst one is to get the centerpiece.
Why? I like the center.
Yeah, but there's no icing on the sides if you get a centerpiece or frosting.
Are we going to share a piece or are you going to have your own?
We're just going to share a bite.
Okay.
We are having company later tonight, so don't miss it.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to share this. There's no way that we need to be eating this much cake.
Speak for yourself. All right, let's get a fork. Oh, wow. This cake is so pretty. I'm going to take that off there so you can get a better picture. Look at that cake. Isn't that beautiful? And that cream cheese frosting smells so good. Let me set it down here so you can let them see what it looks like. Delicious. I'll just use this fork. I have been told that I take bites that are way too big when I'm on camera. I don't take princess bites, sorry. Okay, for those of you out there, this cake's delicious. Honey, this is horrible. You should not eat any of this.
Try again.
Oh my gosh, that's good. A bite for the camera woman.
Yummy.
That is perfect for the fall. It's perfect for Thanksgiving.
It's nice and moist.
It is really moist, isn't it? I think it's because I did that heaping half cup of pumpkin. It gives it a little extra moisture. But this cake's good any time of the year. It's still really a good cake for Christmas. So, try the pumpkin cake with cream cheese, cinnamon cream cheese frosting. I think you'll really like it if you do. Let me ask you to do us a favor. We would appreciate it if you'd go down under the video over on the left side and click the thumbs up that just says you liked our video. On the right side, where it says subscribe, if you have not already done it, please click the subscribe box. And when you do that, it will say subscribed, which means you're already a member of our channel. So if you haven't clicked that before, please click the subscribe box for us. And right beside of the word subscribe, you'll see a little bell, like a dinner bell. If you'll click that, that'll give you a notification every time we add a new video, so you'll know there's a new one up.
And sharing it.
And of course, we always appreciate when you share our video. We have so many people who are sharing them on their own pages, and that just helps us reach more people, and we really do appreciate that. As always, remember, you are always welcome to come sit at my table. Happy holidays, and have a wonderful day.